welcome to the Men's Pocket Guide podcast. This is with my brother Rich.
Hey Rob, how you doing? Good to see you.
I'm good. How are you, man?
Not too bad. I'm just a little bit excited about our first podcast.
I'm super excited. I am so excited that we're getting this off the ground, that we're getting something out there, which I think we both believe is needed and it's time.
Absolutely. It is a good time. So we've got lots of ideas of what's going to come forward. So shall we kick off with the first one today?
Yeah, sure. The first episode that we've titled here is called The Manual. And now, just to give a brief idea of what we're doing here, we want men to be stronger. We want them to be healthier. We want us just to lead better. So, this podcast is going to aim at talking about life from a men's point of view, from men's stuff that we deal with. And hopefully with just a little bit of fun and a little bit of lightheartedness every now and again.
Well, of course.
But we are going to prod.
Yes.
We are going to prod you.
Absolutely, yes. It's going to be groundbreaking stuff going on here. And I think we're going to have to think about how we are and how we could change. So it's all about, us growing and being better guys.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the first episode is called The Manual. And we just really wanted to, like I said, this one's going to be a little bit of a prod to start with.
Yeah.
Don't turn your dials down. Don't turn us off. Just hear us out, and let us just hear what we've got to say. So, we know right now that men's health is in the press, and it's right at the front of a forefront of I don't know, I suppose everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
Magazines are delivering articles about it.
Mm-hmm.
Charities are stepping up and raising money for it. It is hot press now.
It is. Yeah, so I mean, even watching the sports channels, and there's lots of talks about guys, sports stars who are struggling with mental health. So it's popular. Definitely.
Yeah, and for rightfully so, because we know that there's certain statistics, and we'll get into those in a little bit. I'm not going to jump into them straight away.
Sure.
But we know that there's certain statistics that surrounding particularly men's health at the moment, which don't paint a very good picture, puts us in a real kind of cloud and a zone in which we've just got to work to do better. And it is going to be a prod, and it is going to be a little bit of work. I mean, one of the things that I was thinking about when we're thinking around this subject matter and this topic was, as you do with analogies. And I remember a little while ago, when my youngest son was a little bit younger, a baby, and I went to the furniture shop and I bought a cot, and obviously it came as a flat pack. And basically, it's the usual kind of thing that when you get your flat pack, you get out your flat pack at home, you lay it across the floor, you get out all the component parts, you get out the little screws and everything else, and all the wooden blocks and the different stuff that's there.
Yeah. And
then after you've laid everything down, there's that one thing that's sitting in front of you, and that's the manual, the instruction booklet. And I'm looking at the instruction booklet. I remember just sitting there, just looking at this instruction booklet going, I'm not going to use you.
Right.
Because, it's typical, it's this typical men mentality. If I use you, I'm going to show myself to be a little bit weak. I'm going to show myself to be a little bit incapable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use you at best as a reference tool, maybe just get a little bit of an idea about how this is going to be constructed, but ultimately go for the instruction booklet free.
Yeah, I know. I feel that because, we as men, we built fire. We made fire, So why can't we build a flat pack cot?
Totally.
So I would do exactly the same. I remember I went to a similar thing. You'll be aware of this, Rob, because you got involved eventually. Trying to build a 2-man wardrobe on my own.
Yeah, I remember this.
And yes, I know you do, Rob. And I kind of failed, and I needed to call on you to help me out. And I was disappointed in myself, especially with my wife downstairs.
Yeah.
And she's thinking, oh, he's useless. He can't even do it himself, kind of thing. But it's meant for 2 people. But as a man, you want to do it yourself.
Yeah. And definitely. As I remember rightly, I went and saved the day for you. No issues. You put that.
Shall we move on from there?
Yeah, that door on the wrong way round. But what we're basically saying here is, that there's a mentality that men carry. I think it's within the masculine sort of culture that we don't need to seek guidance in life. This manual and what it represents is just simply about we don't need to seek guidance in life. We can do it by ourselves. No matter what the challenge, no matter what the circumstance in front of us, that we don't have to seek guidance from them anywhere, whether it be in a book, from a person, whatever. We don't need that guidance because masculinity says that we can do it it by ourselves. Masculinity says that there's strength in doing it alone.
Yeah, we are problem solvers. So we see an issue, we want to solve it straight away, we want to deal with it straight away, we want to kind of fix it. With fixers, and I think that, well, as we know, that doesn't always work.
No.
So we need to kind of have different avenues and different ways of dealing with things.
Yeah. And you know, the thing is that we can't control aspects of life. I know as guys we want to grip hold of it, and I know that some of you are going to be thinking in this right now that this is a prod. We can't always control everything in life, and life happens. And what I mean by that is that sometimes we get made redundant.
Yeah.
Sometimes our marriages are falling apart.
Yeah.
Sometimes our kids are getting involved in stuff that we just don't want them to get involved in. You know, like stress happens in work. It's not a weakness. It's just the way that sometimes work life and family life balance can be. You know, all those things, and there's many more things that we could explore. You know, we could talk about cancer. We could talk about illness.
Yeah, sure.
We could talk about family members. All those things are just life.
Yeah.
And they're out of our control. And we just seem to think we've got this mentality to think that we don't need in any of these challenges or circumstances to go and seek guidance. That we can do it.
It's so true. We just lock down. We just think, right, I can deal with this. I don't need anyone's help. And then when people ask us if we need help, we think it's not manly enough to say, yes, I do need your help.
Yeah, totally.
You know, so we just stick with it, and we don't help ourselves. We don't help people in our lives by doing that, because we're just causing stress amongst ourselves, and then it falls out onto the people around us that we love. So, we need to kind of reach out, definitely.
And we need to be aware, you know, like that basically it's not just about our willingness sometimes to seek the guidance. It's also our willingness sometimes to be able to call it out, because within the masculine culture, you know, it's almost like we're a little bit afraid of standing on each other's toes. Like, dare I challenge this guy's masculinity and asking him that he's okay, just in case I offend him or I make him in some way feel weak or inferior, you know? And there's just such an unhealthiness to that, you know?
Absolutely.
There's something that we just got to climb over and get over ourselves.
Yeah, good point. So that's another prod, I think.
Yeah, that's definitely a prod.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I was watching Jurassic Park: The Fallen World.
Oh, yeah.
It's Jurassic World, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah.
The new series. So we're talking like the new series of Jurassic Parks. And for those of you, this is a huge spoiler alert, but in all fairness, they've had time to watch this.
Yeah,
they've had a lot of time to watch this.
So do not switch off.
So don't switch off. So the first Jurassic World in this new series, surprise, surprise, it's the disaster movie, isn't it? It's where the park breaks down, where Owen Grady is the main character in the movie. He's the guy who's supposed to look after the dinosaurs, keep them in shape and make them, but it doesn't. Havoc breaks loose, dinosaurs escape, people get eaten and all this like horrific, you know, death, destruction everywhere. But they escape the island. He's the hero alongside his female counterpart, and
boom.
Yeah, we're done, right? Yeah. So the next movie that opens up, the first time when we see Owen Grady's character again, is that basically off the back of this horrific experience that he's gone through, you know, obviously carrying a lot of the weight and the blame for the destruction of the park, and obviously what he was responsible for. What he's decided to do is he's decided to isolate himself from life. And the way that the movie pictures it is that he's basically in a vast open field forest type lake in the background. Beautiful.
I remember the scene, yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And he's there and he's building this amazing log cabin. And you know, you're watching this movie, and I remember watching this movie and thinking there's something missing within this scene.
Okay.
You know, because, you know, like you would expect that when a house is being built, there's going to be construction workers and there's going to be plans laid out and there's going to be amazing machinery, but it's not. It's just like him by himself building stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like, this guy's my man hero. You know, like of a picture of how to do life and deal with life's problems and challenges. This guy's my hero. You know, he's building a flipping house.
Yeah. Not a cot.
Not a cot. Not a set of drawers. A house.
Yeah.
But, you know, and this is the thing. Some people are going to start shouting me down now because it's like it's Jurassic World. Get a grip. And I know what you're saying there.
Yeah, there must be a deeper point coming out here.
There is a deeper point because, let's face it, like the reason that movies are popular is because they make characters relatable.
Yes.
And the thing is that makes this character relatable to the man in the world is the fact of he's decided to isolate himself.
Yeah, sure.
And build stuff.
Yeah.
In other words, we have as men a mentality that when we face our problems, we're going to to isolate ourselves and build stuff. And that's the way that we fix it. And yet we know that this is just completely a backward idea.
Yeah, that's such a deep insight into that scene, because when I saw that scene, I didn't think of it anything like that. Okay, Rob.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
But the point you bring out is so true.
Yeah.
He's faced a traumatic experience and it's affected him. And what he's done is isolated himself.
Yeah.
And gone and done a manly thing and build something. And that was his coping mechanism.
Yeah.
He didn't reach out to anybody. He didn't go and seek help from other human beings. He withdrew himself.
Yeah.
And that's what our mindset as men is really, is to kind of isolate ourselves and become withdrawn and insulated and just try to solve the problem ourselves.
Yeah.
The poet, John Donnes, he said that no man is an island, and it's
Absolutely.
so true. We as human beings, as men, we can't live our lives alone. We can't live our lives facing problems, facing situations alone and trying to solve everything by ourselves, because we're not built to do that. We're built to live in community.
Absolutely right. And that's the thing. When I think about the manual and that instruction booklet analogy again, when you open it up, there's that section that says, to construct this piece of furniture, please have 2 or more people to help. And again, like my mentality is that when I see that, it doesn't happen on every single piece of furniture, but when I see that, it's like, that is so much more of an extra challenge.
Yeah.
If I can do this now by myself, without actually having, I've proved the instruction booklet wrong. I have proved the whole of IKEA wrong, like the vast company that it spans over many countries.
Yeah.
But I've proved them wrong because I've been able to do this by myself.
You go, Rob. Yeah.
But this, again, it's our mentality, isn't it? It's like, instead of, it's a simple way to look at this. And I know that in some way I'm trying to make myself feel as a superior human being by, again, trying to do this by myself. But ultimately what we're saying here is pull a friend alongside.
Yeah, that's, you hit the nail on the head. I never thought of this before, but like I referred to the wardrobe that I was building. Yeah. It did say 2 people need to build it.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I could do this on my own, there's bragging rights for my wife.
Yeah.
And also you and the other guys. I could say, look at this wardrobe, I built it myself, even though the instruction manual said 2 people.
Yeah.
So it's again that thing is, I can do it alone. I can go alone. I can solve this. I can deal with this. I can fix this alone.
Yeah.
It didn't help.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
Yeah. And this is the thing, like when we talk about, okay, so what's the background to we're talking about? Where are we basing this argument that we're not doing this correct at the moment? When we look at the statistics, 5,821 suicides in 2017 from men alone. It is the biggest killer of men under 35. The biggest killer.
Seriously, that's nearly 6,000 men.
Yeah, but you got to put this into context as well. That's the figure of people who've taken their life.
Yeah, sure.
It doesn't take into account people who've attempted to take their life. Absolutely. It doesn't take into account the men who are struggling with depression, anxiety, and all those types of mental health issues. It doesn't. That statistic doesn't take into account, and yet it's a staggering and huge statistic by itself. We are 3 times more likely to become dependent on alcohol than women are. We are 36%, only 36% of referrals for psychological therapies in men. Wow. And yet we have a higher suicide rate than women. Yeah. We have a higher mental health rate at the moment than women, and yet only 36%, a third, just above a third of referrals to go and get clinical, support are men.
It's staggering. It's absolutely staggering. And we need to address this, because there can't be that many men get to that point where they want to take their own lives, and they do take their own lives without talking to anybody. Yeah. And it's because we feel like it's not a man thing to do, to talk to someone. Yeah. It's crazy. We need to do something.
Yeah. Iron sharpens iron.
Yes,
so one man sharpens another. Yeah. And the basic point of that is that, we should be able to call each other out on our behaviours. That our brother alongside of us, our friend, our mate, has an answer somewhere. Has a support somewhere. Even if they don't have the full answer, just to know that somebody is alongside of you is so important.
So sure is. I mean, the amount of times that we meet together as guys, we go out for a meal, go out for a drink, go out to watch sports. But how many times do we kind of go beneath that superficial surface and scratch that away and talk about the real stuff we're going through? My wife and her friends, when they meet together, they have deep conversations.
Yeah. I caught my missus on a conversation to you the other night, and they'd been talking for at least an hour. I mean, I left the room, like I walked straight out because I saw her on the phone. I knew she was on the phone to your missus. I left with super feeling self-conscious. They'd had a deep conversation about us for a good hour.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. And they do that regularly. Yeah. And sometimes we mock that and we think, oh, they're chatting again, but surely it's a good thing. Surely it's a good thing to kind of share things that you're going through.
Yeah.
And like I said, iron sharpeneth iron. And just to get the views and the help from others. So why do we not do that? Why do we just talk about sports? Why do we just talk about the superficial things?
Yeah, totally.
It's crazy.
And the thing is that we've got to be able to get into that rhythm. If I start spotting you in a behavior which is like a trigger, that something's not right, and we know that sometimes, because we see our friends all the time, we know their character, we know when something's wrong. So if I see one of our brothers and it's clear that he's talking about other women, or he's basically looking at every woman that's passes, that's a trigger sign surely for me to go, hey, how's your marriage doing?
Definitely.
If there's suddenly this point where I'm seeing that he's drinking more, that he looks drawn, he looks tired, there's got to be that trigger point there to say, hey, how's life going?
Yeah.
What's going on, man?
Yeah.
We've got to feel comfortable doing that.
Absolutely. And I think that's kind of twofold. I think the first thing is our mindset is not to go there. Our mindset is to kind of just hope things get better.
Yeah.
Or I've done it before where I've seen a friend of mine going through things, and what I do is just talk to them more about sports, or take them out and talk more about the other things and kind of avoid the elephant in the room.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think there is that environment. There wasn't that environment where you felt safe to crash those barriers and have a deep chat.
Yeah.
That's one thing. And then the second thing is that women do that, not us. We don't talk. Men don't talk about things like that. And that's the thing that we need to break it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We do. In one part of this is we do have this culture, and this is a giant prod, and I know so many men are going to be able to relate to this. Yeah. This kind of culture of like when we do say something, so let's say I gain the courage to speak out about my problems to you, and the reaction I get back is the punch on the arm. You'll be all right. You keep going. And the thing is when you listen to it in this way, it is actually so ridiculous. Because if you think about it, imagine if I'm walking on a road towards the edge of a cliff. I'm walking on a path towards the edge of a cliff.
Yeah.
And that path is going to lead me straight off the edge of the cliff. The last thing you're going to do as my friend is punch me on the arm and tell me to keep going. Tell me to keep walking.
That's true, yeah.
Because we all know that if that was to happen and you're just encouraging me to go in that direction, I'm going to walk off the edge of a cliff.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fatal, and there's going to be a horrible ending to it. But that's effectively what we're doing when we address each other with our problems, and all I get is a punch on the arm to tell me to keep going.
Yeah, and that's the thing again where we're scared to get beneath the superficial.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not sure what to say. I'm not sure if I can say it. So I'll just say, you'll be all right, hoping that will be an encouragement enough, but it's not.
No.
And we do need to get deeper under there, definitely. So that's a good analogy there you've used about walking off the cliff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to pull out just another example because I think this just might really help with people. There was somebody who was telling me, I was telling them about this podcast and what we're doing, and he opened up about this story about one of his friends had been going through general problems in his life. His marriage was breaking down. Stuff with his family wasn't quite working out, and as a result, it was hitting him really hard. So he got one of his friends that he's close to. He opened up to and said, "Hey man, my marriage is falling apart. Things aren't going down. Like I'm really struggling here." And his friend looked him in the eye and went, "You're a man. Pull yourself together.
Oh dear.
Deal with it.
Yeah.
You're stronger than that. You're showing weakness." And that's, if that's the way that we do it, if that's the way that we support each other or we try and help each other, these statistics are just going to go through the roof. They're just going to keep rising and rising.
Absolutely. That's probably why those statistics are where they are. It's, we are not helping each other out here as guys. We need to kind of create that culture, create that safe environment where we feel safe to call on our brothers, our friends, and our friends and us ourselves feel safe to talk about and speak about things that we're really struggling with. It's so important because you can't carry on like this.
No. And as much as we want to encourage people listening to this that, you know, like this is definitely something we should do, and it definitely is. One thing that we do have to recognize within ourselves is our own limitations.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, if we go back to this analogy of the instruction manual, the instruction manual will ask you to use your specialist tools. So, you know, for example, it'll say, you know, in building this cot, you will need a screwdriver, a hammer, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But how many times because I don't have a hammer to hand, I use the end of my screwdriver to try and hit that nail in? How many times, because I don't have a spanner to hand, I decide to use a pair of pliers to try and tighten that bolt? You know, it's the specialist tools that you require.
Yeah, true.
And you know, the thing is that like what I've noticed is that I can still build the structure. You know, like I was still able to build this cot with my limited tools.
Your post child.
But the problem is that I might be able to build the structure, but the structure is so unstable.
Yeah.
And you know, you know, you call your wife up and you're like ready to earn your man points with which is such a valuable currency, by the way.
It is actually, yes.
But I called my wife up and like, here you go, bam, and it's an amazing cart, and she looks, it looks great, and like, you know, like let's go and get our baby and let's go and put him in. I'm like, whoa,
put the baby in there.
No. Like that thing's gonna break if you do that. And that's the thing, you know, what I'm talking about here is sometimes we have to understand our limitations, that by all means we need to open up to each other, but sometimes problems are going to be bigger than just a support from a man. You know, we're going to require the specialist help. We're going to require the counsellor. We're going to require the therapist.
That's good. Yeah, absolutely true. I think that's another barrier that we have, is that we fear that we haven't got the answers, and that's okay to not have the answers.
Yeah,
we've all got different experiences, and but nobody's equipped to deal with every single problem.
No.
And there are people out there, specialist people out there, who can help us.
Yeah,
and it's important. I mean, this might be a taboo subject sometimes. Well, it's not so much nowadays because counsellors. Everybody uses counsellors nowadays, but you know, totally. It's definitely worth going down that route if it's needed. Absolutely,
yeah. And like I said, you know, you might find in life that you can build a structure, but the problem is, you know, you deal with your problems by yourself during that time when you need to seek that specialist help. You know, like there is marriage therapy out there, and it's healthy to go to marriage therapy.
That's right.
You know, like there is counsellors who are specialists in loss. There are counsellors who are specialists in dealing with illnesses. There, you know, there's a counsel service and therapy for anything you can think of these days. You know, work-related stress, anything.
And it's not just because I know that lots of guys, so I used to think this myself, guys worry about this because they think that go to a counselling session and it's you're being judged by this counsellor. This counsellor's there to make you feel like you're doing something wrong, that you're not a man, why are you here? Yeah. But it's not like that at all. It's just a way of getting things out of you that you need to get out, and getting us to open up and to deal with these issues, and it's absolutely valuable, absolutely worthwhile. Yeah, definitely.
And that's the thing. Without it, our structure is so unstable. Yeah. And what we might find that we can maintain it for a little bit, just like I could have put my baby in that cot for a little bit, but eventually it's going to come falling down. And you know, that's the, I guess, part of the problems why the statistics are like they are.
That's good.
Yeah, we realise that, you know, like in having this, that, you know, we might be prodding some people a little bit far, and we understand, you know, like the difficulty in what we're talking about. We're men at the end of the day, and it is hard, you know, talking about this idea of opening up and talking about our problems, this idea of, you know, opening up to somebody else. We realise it's a challenge. So what we're trying to do here is just set up lightly, step by step.
That's right.
A way for men to try and find a way through this. So what we're basically saying is, you know, like, I suppose a bit of a challenge, but a real practical step from the end of this podcast is to say, right, Find somebody in your life, find a brother in your life, and be intentional in a conversation with them to say, okay, I'm going to be more honest with you. I want you to be more honest with me. And like it doesn't, we're not talking about a whole bunch of people here. We're not talking like pick out your entire friendship group. I mean, literally the person you feel closest to, set up a brotherhood with. Yeah. Set up that connection with that. Just a real intentional conversation just to say, look, life's going to happen. And we've detailed with all the issues that we've talked about, life's going to happen. We've got to be strong enough together just to say, I'm going to be honest with you. You be honest with me.
Yeah, I think that's so good. If we make ourselves accountable to someone, it's the next level of us kind of looking after ourselves. Because if somebody is if I was to talk to Rob and say, Rob, I'm going through something here, I know that Rob would be checking up on me and just checking in with me quite a lot, and that helps me to kind of deal with and talk about things much more freely. So I think it's really important that we do find someone, like Rob says, to kind of connect with. And if you're the kind of person who is going to help support somebody else, then there you go. That's something that's great as well. So, and it's about checking in and keeping that communication open. And, whenever people open up to us, it's not about a shock. It's not about being in shock or anything like that. It's just about listening and hearing.
Yeah.
And if you're going through that, just talking it, and if you're accountable to somebody else, it just makes that conversation, that burden, that stress that we're going through a little bit easier. And like Rob said, it's a step-by-step thing. So it starts small. Yeah. And you don't know where it's going to go after that.
No, you don't. And, let's face it, as men, we are required to lead. We're required to lead in our family. We're required to lead in our workplaces. People will look up to us. We'll be asked to guide and mentor people. The only way we can do any of that stuff is making sure that the person right now is as healthy as we can possibly be. That's the only way we can do it. So, let's just put it as that front. If you need an agenda to do this, if you need to somehow think of why would I do this? What's the justification? It's simple as, you're the leader of your family.
Yeah.
You're the guy in the workplace. You're the mentor. You're the person that people look up to. Yeah. So do it strongly.
Yeah. And you need to look after you. You need to be in that place to be able to look after your fold, so to speak. So yeah, let's do this and let's talk.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. So thank you for listening to the Men's Pocket Guide. We are super excited that you are listening to us. Please tune back in next month. We've got more things that we want to discuss.
Sure.
You can follow us on Instagram at the Men's Pocket Guide.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be posting little funny things here or there, but also maybe some messages as well for you. But
that'd be great. Yeah.
Tune in next month. Most exciting stuff to talk about. Otherwise, take it easy.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thanks.